Spin him out. Hey, come through. What the? I've been waiting for my pint for like 25 minutes. Are we ever gonna get our drink here? Innit? This wait is shit, man. What the? Why have you got a Nintendo DS? Are you playing Super Mario? Yeah, I was, but I've got something better on now. Oh, wait. No, I know that. Anything but FT. Yo guys, it is your boy Newman here, and you are watching FTW. This, of course, the series where I bring to you the best and more frequently the worst of what football has to offer during the last 7 days. But what's been kicking off in the world this week? Unreal life, mate. It is an international tournament.
Thousands and thousands of hours of football, each more climactic than the last. Constant, dizzying, 24-hour, year-long, endless football.
Euro 2024 is here, and it has already been a sensational tournament so far. But before we dive straight into that action, let me tell you about something that's just as important. Your privacy and safety online. And that is where today's sponsor comes in, Proton VPN. Now look, listen, we all want a safe experience when we're online, alright? Whether you're watching Germany fight for home glory, Albania upset the odds, or Scotland go out of the tournament. With Proton VPN, you can do all of that without having to worry about pesky things like hackers, data thieves, or even geo restrictions. Whether that be streaming games, browsing the internet, or if you're out in Germany, connecting to the stadium Wi-Fi. Proton VPN gives you ridiculous speeds with over 5,000 servers in 91 countries. Can you even name 91 countries right now? 3, 2, 1. Nah, see, you couldn't. If you're from England, but you're on holiday, for example, you can even still tune into British coverage on BBC or ITV by placing yourself back in the UK. Or watch geo-locked content from other countries like US coverage. All of that whilst being safe and secure online. And just in case you thought it couldn't get any better, Proton VPN are offering 1 month free on a 1-year plan and 3 months free on a 2-year plan. All you gotta do is click the link in the description. So go to protonvpn.com/FNG to get yourself started. Now, as I said, the Euros are here, and I was cancelling work meetings just so I could watch Georgia versus Turkey. Jobless behavior. So you're telling me you haven't sorted the company accounts because you wanted to watch, quote, Albanian farmers?
No, that isn't true. Like... Okay, yeah, that is true.
The entrance into the competition for England came in the form of our group opener versus Serbia. It ended in a 1-0 victory, but a less than convincing attacking display. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is what we do. Come on, England! Oh. Southgate depression ball? Don't worry about me. I've tested positive for football coming home. And it wasn't just me. Other supporters across the country are getting into the spirit here. Meanwhile, the players are loving the new national anthem.
If you're talking the hardest, it's better.
Now, Serbia set up to try and defend, make our lives difficult in this one, but just a quarter of an hour in, Jude Bellingham got on the end of a cross.
Bakar does get it across, and it's headed in by Bellingham.
And it's Jude! Luke Shaw was celebrating down on the touchline before picking up a 7th injury of the summer. Jude Bellingham overall, by the way, he's the truth. He was actually disgraceful during this one. Look, I know it's only the first game of the tournament. Serbia aren't exactly the strongest team in the competition, but especially in the first half, he grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck and made it his own. It's time to retire the number 10 shirt for England, lads. He's the GOAT, I'm telling you now. He's already got more goals at Euros competitions than Lionel Messi does. Meanwhile, Jude and Trent brought out a signature celebration for this one. It wasn't very good, but the fact they did it together means that one day he's signing for Liverpool. You thought I was giving up on that. They even have their own special handshake in training, by the way. Though it's fair to say it left Aston Villa centre-back Ezri Konsa baffled in the background.
What are you playing at?
At the other end of the spectrum, though, performance-wise in this one was Phil Foden, who was looking very different indeed. Trent Alexander-Arnold was not great, by the way, in midfield. I'm not going to gloss over that. But Phil Foden had an absolute stinker. I don't want to see Foden v Saka comparisons anymore. He's got to escape their Nketiah allegations. Mark Gahey was left depressed when Foden gave the ball away, and he had to deal with Alexander Mitrovic for a 47th time. Jordan Pickford wasn't too impressed either with the defensive work that he had to do.
Right, Jeff, not happy at all.
Brother, why are you complaining? You're paid to make saves.
That's his job. It's middle of the goal. It's good height for him.
Kyle Walker on the right-hand side was distracted, tearing up Father's Day cards. How many did he get from his various children, I hear you ask?
Probably around 95, 96, was it? 94, 95, 96.
And I thought we were good defensively here, but if we analyse things a little bit more closely, I saw like a comparison about the football boots that our players are wearing. And honestly, I've got to say it is a complete shambles. Harry Kane, our captain, our number 9, is wearing Skechers. The centre-backs aren't wearing boots from 1997. The game is absolutely gone. We're one tournament away from Cole Palmer turning up in wheelies.
You are finished, you big pale moron ginger.
That one fan that always finds himself on TV arrived again. Meanwhile, one other supporter woke up inside the stadium after falling asleep the night before. How he managed to do this and not get caught, I've got no idea. But in fairness, watching Gareth Southgate ball, it's very easy to fall asleep during it. No surprise there, but the biggest shock in the tournament so far came in the form of Slovakia grabbing a win versus Belgium in Group E. The scoreline was 1-0 here, thanks to a goal from Ivan Schranz early on. But despite the result, congratulations to Belgium on securing their #1 place in the FIFA World Ranking. This was a generational Belgium hate watch. And I don't mean that geographically. I have a lot of love for people from Belgium, but it is just, for some reason, so funny to watch these guys find different ways every single time to make themselves underachieve. Lukaku had 2 goals disallowed and missed chance after chance in this one. It was a disaster class from the man. Next time he takes his wife out on a date, he'll be missing the target there. Heaven knows what'll happen when they get back from it. Romelu, that's my eye. What are you doing? I saw this on Twitter, actually. Have you ever noticed that Romelu Lukaku has 2 symptoms for a disaster class? A, hands on his head. B, drenched in sweat. I've seen this Lukaku script before, and it's wet. He's dripped sweat on it. Because honestly, his performance and highlights in this one were an absolute shit show. So in fairness, maybe it's all planned out. He was driving home after the match, happy with his shift after getting revenge for Belgium's treatment of DR Congo. Until he gets a call from the Belgian Secret Service, who've listed him as a national terrorist.
You're under surveillance.
I mean, the second disallowed goal, by the way, here was very controversial for those Belgian fans watching. We probably have a lot to say about it. It was disallowed because there was deemed to be a handball against Loïs Openda after the ball basically brushed his arm, like brushed his hand. His arm was kind of pushed towards the ball as well by the defender. They even brought out Snickometer for this. Is this cricket? The game's gone. LBW, how's that, sir? Brother, we can't be disallowing goals based on heart rates. What are we doing here? Snicko could have been pretty useful when it comes to other decisions in the history of football, to be fair. Jeremy Doku was quiet in this one, and that's because he was up against the right back who wasn't over the age of 30. This guy is a different footballer when he's not coming up against a wing back that's geriatric. Meanwhile, for Roberto Martinez, he didn't help matters tactically, playing Yannick Carrasco at left back. Is this guy okay?
This is what he does!
Kevin De Bruyne brought his kids to the action. They genuinely might have thought he'd gone missing and that he wasn't bringing back the milk. Clearly a bit too inspired by teammate Kyle Walker, because he didn't have anywhere near enough of an impact on this game. Meanwhile, Slovakian legend Marek Hamšík was on the bench. Not as a player though, as a coach. Not that you could recognise him without his mohawk. And at full time, Amadou Onana was being interviewed by French television when another journalist brought out the English side of him.
L'efficacité. Merci beaucoup. Il a manqué aujourd'hui. Je vous écoute. Andre is not even my name, mate. Do you know what I mean? Go on.
This guy's been in England for like a year. How the fuck does he sound this English already? I thought this was a dub over. That's absolutely insane. Being confused for Andre Onana as well. I personally wouldn't have it. Oh, no. The very first game of the Euros, though, was the host Germany wrecking Scotland. Germany, considered one of the tournament favourites, demolished Scotland 5-1 here. Jamal Musiala and Florian Wirtz were absolutely disgraceful in this game. It feels like it really could be their tournament, or the tournament of the Wonder Kids at the very least. We fumbled Musiala so badly. We got him here in an England shirt, man. For Scotland, though, and before kick-off, the Tartan army were on the move, taking over the cities of Germany, kilts aplenty, but it was some wholesome stuff, as Scottish fans held an umbrella for an elderly man to keep him away from the rain. Not every Scottish fan was quite as wholesome as this, though.
Hey, but we guys there, he's never seen this before. He was never born with his hand.
What are you going to say, sorry? Fuck you, Germany!
Oh, dear. And honestly, the feelings will have been even worse just 20 minutes in. They were 2-0 down very quickly and down to 10 men. Oh, go get the Serbia flags, mate. Fans in Glasgow took the news pretty badly.
I hate myself, honestly, I'm better off dead.
The plane that brought them to the tournament is still on the runway, mate. They're ready. They've come to Germany for a weekend away. They're going home immediately. One parent emailed his kid's head teacher saying that he would be absent from school until Scotland get knocked out. In other words, he'll be back in school on Monday. I mean, we really should have known that it was going to be a long day at the office here versus Germany when Kieran Tierney started celebrating a block for a corner like 3 minutes in. And as I mentioned, they went down to 10 men pretty early on here, thanks to Porteous' tackle on Ilkay Gundogan in the area.
Turn the dirty guys up!
I mean, he's gone to block the ball away, obviously, but he's jumped in at shin level and absolutely clamped Ilkay here. It is a shocker of a red card, and the reverse angle does it no justice. He was even handed an extra 2-game ban by UEFA, so basically the rest of Scotland's Euros. So after the performance that Ryan put in, Hungary will probably be appealing that one. Grant Hanley came on as a substitute, and honestly, him trying to stop Germany, like trying to stop the Terminator with a Nerf gun. And speaking of guns, Angus in between the sticks for Scotland, his performance wasn't that great in this game either. At the other end of the pitch, and Manuel Neuer had nothing to do, it's fair to say, because Scotland produced 0.0 XG from this one. No shots on target. The only goal they scored came courtesy of an Antonio Rudiger OG, and he'll be really left confused when he takes home Scotland's golden boot for the tournament. All hope is not lost, alright? Argentina lost their first game of the World Cup, and look at them, they went on to win the whole thing. Slight problem is that Scotland have Scott McTominay and not Lionel Messi. So now, before kickoff here, and Nicholas Fulkrug accidentally broke a fan's hand after a stray shot struck him. He ended up missing the game because he had to go to hospital, but Fulkrug is sorting him out like a care package, basically, to make up for it, and I'm sure a free ticket. Poor Belgian fans must have been black and blue after watching a Romelu Lukaku rondo. Now, France started their Euros campaign with a win, but once again not convincing. An Austria own goal guided them to victory. Before the match here, and it was a battle of the cuisines, as Austrian fans were breaking bread, snapping baguettes and chanting about schnitzel. On the pitch though, and it was rough times for Kylian Mbappe. 5 games played at Euros competitions, 0 Euros goals, and instead 1 broken nose. Yeah, that's right, he was in a really bad way after colliding with an Austrian defender's shoulder. NHS advice, not really gonna help him out on this one. Batman Mbappe is gonna slap for the rest of the tournament, you know. He's obviously gonna have to wear a protective mask, the likes that we've seen of Victor Osimhen, Joško Gvardiol, and Antonio Rudiger. He was looking for inspiration over on Twitter, and Neil Mopay had a suggestion for him. In my eyes, though, there's only one thing that Kylian can do: embrace the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. With no Mbappe, and it's going to be up to Antoine Griezmann to save France, only for him to get absolutely clattered in this one. The poor guy got IKEA flat pack against the ad boards. William Saliba stunk here as well, making his first start. He was one N'Golo Kante away from disaster. And speaking of N'Golo, he picked up man of the match despite not being involved in a French game for 2 years. If your mobile coverage was Kante, you're getting 5G in the Atlantic Ocean. This brother's heat map was absolutely crazy. Now, France might not have looked too convincing, but Spain certainly did in their first game, with a 3-0 win over Croatia. Lamine Yamal became the youngest player to ever appear at the European Championships. The kid's still doing homework at the tournament. Bro's getting my maths notifications mid-match. He can win this whole tournament, but he can't buy Warzone, bro. Make it make sense. Now, in this one, Spain obviously dominated, but they actually lost the possession battle for the first time in 136 games. An absolutely mental record, to be honest with you, but still got the job done. Croatia's midfield were seriously struggling when Fabian Ruiz and Rodri came forward.
I'm running out of energy.
And, you know, it's an aging Croatia side. The likes of Luka Modric, Brozovic, Mateo Kovacic. How Ivan Perisic isn't 60 yet is beyond me. Him and Ricardo Rodriguez have been playing international football since 2005. And Croatia's second match didn't go all that much better, as Albania pulled off a surprise to draw 2-2 with them and take a point. Klaus Gisula here was the absolute hero. He came off the bench, scored an own goal, then scored a 95th minute equaliser and pulled off the most cynical foul you've ever seen for perhaps the greatest Euros cameo of all time. That is serious main character syndrome. For me, always been a fan of Albania as well, for absolutely no specific reason whatsoever, trust me. Their first game ended in defeat though against Italy in Group B. Before kickoff, and it was food wars again, as Albania fans were snapping spaghetti in heinous crimes against Italian supporters. Poor child mascots were getting deafened here as Italian players sang the national anthem, but just 22 seconds in, those Italian players were quietened down significantly as Albania opened the scoring with the fastest goal ever at a European Championship. Honestly, by the way, a banger. The goals at this tournament so far have been absolutely insane. I feel like I'm gonna struggle to try and recreate them in my back garden though.
Special beyond special!
Not on the topic of Italy, they did manage to come back and win that game, but manager Luciano Spalletti has got some interesting rules around camp. No PlayStation, no midnight game, don't know what that even entails to be honest with you, and no headphones phones for any of his players at any point during the tournament. I understand, fully focused, but he's definitely going to alienate the younger members of the squad who can't go 6 minutes without watching TikTok. He'll be struggling to get a handshake from any of his players in the morning for training that are below the age of 32. Now, do you remember earlier on when I was saying it was coming home? Yeah, look, listen, so a bit of a sneaky one still. England drew their second group stage match of the tournament, 1-1 the scoreline against Denmark, but the more concerning thing here was the overall performance. We took the lead early on, but then once again sat back and waited for our opponents to attack, this time actually suffering from it. Individual performances in this one were absolutely shocking, and Southgate tactically let the team down again. So in fairness, the goal from Newman was once again another Euro 2024 screamer. Their average positions, right, after we scored, ridiculous. This is 15 minutes after Harry Kane's opener. It's basically a defensive line. What the fuck are we? We're playing Denmark, lads. No offense to them. They went out of the World Cup in the group stages. And it's a familiar theme because it's a tactic that Gareth Southgate deploys every single time he takes the lead of a football match. This guy is too safe, man. He wears a hard hat when it rains. I would not be surprised if he wears a seatbelt when he's riding a bicycle. A condom for him is bubble wrap. I genuinely have had enough of him. At least he's got the self-awareness to point to who's coming home. And the substitutions I thought in this one were average at best. How is Cole Palmer getting absolutely no minutes after the season he's just had for Chelsea? The guy's burnt 0 calories all tournament. He's gonna get cold on the bench, all the sitting around that he's doing. Meanwhile, up front, and despite scoring, Harry Kane had an absolute stinker. Barely able to get involved, partly down to tactics, partly down to a lack of pressing. This is the Harold that we actually got for the second half. The pitch was an absolute joke, I'm not gonna lie to you. But we're not gonna give ourselves a chance if we just completely freeze after scoring the first goal every game. Neil Mopé is not convinced by our chances, freezing at the fact that we say it's coming home. Yeah, it's a shithousery award for the Brentford striker. But genuinely, a concerningly dismal performance. I love Trent Alexander-Arnold, but the central midfield sort of experiment isn't really working. Again, tactically speaking, but also he's not playing well enough there. I thought Phil Foden improved a little bit during this game compared to the first match against Serbia, but Harry Kane, as I mentioned, put in an absolute 1 out of 10 outside of scoring the goal. He was the man that gave the ball away for the equaliser anyway, so it cancels out. Declan Rice was absolutely appalling. Jude Bellingham could barely get into the game. The only person that can hold their head up high after that game is probably Mark Gay and Kyle Walker as well. Now, Hungary started the Euros with a defeat to Switzerland, but the star of the show was substitute striker Martin Adam. This man is the greatest. I'm an honorary Hungarian now. I think they have to decide that I'm that, but I'm deciding it for them. He is definitely a lumberjack in a different life. He came on, didn't score, unfortunately, but let's take it easy on him. He's only human after all. He was a little bit extra when he came off the bench, though, I'm not gonna lie. They've grabbed him from the fan zone. Yeah, as you can tell, he's my new favourite footballer. I will be monitoring his actions and how he does, like, throughout the entire tournament. Though upon me tweeting this and then it getting quite a lot of traction and stuff, he actually had a response for the memes that he'd been seeing online.
Természetesen visszajut 1-2 hozzám, jókat szoktam rajta rögni. 1-2-n. Hát most én így születtem, ilyen testalkatom van. Azt nem mondom, hogy ekkora volt, amikor megszülettem, de ezen változtatni nem tudok. Van egy genetikám. Úgyhogy igen, ennyit foglalkozok vele.
Well, now I feel terrible. Now I feel like a bad man. To be fair, genuinely didn't really say anything bad, to be honest with you. I know some people did. But for me, personally, like, I think he's a hero. I think it's great. I will genuinely be keeping up with his career from this point onwards. And Adam, I hope you understand that we will be extremely gassed when you score your first goal of the tournament. I'm saying when, not if. I'm manifesting it. The rest of his side, though, did not perform very well in this game, and it left Hungarian fans frustrated, to say the least. How can you be jamming your remote into the TV and game week 1? The real reason for the defeat? Their goalkeeper isn't wearing Lonsdale trackies.
Oh, the game's gone, isn't it? The game's gone.
The game's gone. The game's gone.
The game's gone.
His replacement, Peter Gulashi, was lobbed late on by Braille Mbolo, who managed to score whilst his knee strapping was coming down. Honestly, this man spawns at every international tournament and then goes missing for 2 years again. Hungary didn't manage a win in their second game either, though it was more expected versus the hosts, Germany. Jamal Musiala scored again here. He is going to be different gravy during this tournament. Leroy Sané, meanwhile, during this tournament, may be the worst thing to ever happen to Germany. And that is really saying a lot. Hungary, by the way, just slapping it from distance. Anytime they got the ball into the opposition half. Adam Martin made his appearance again late on off the bench and then bodied a German footballer within 6 seconds. That is my boy. Elsewhere in Group A, Scotland scored their first point at the group stages versus Switzerland with a 1-1 draw. And it keeps Scotland's hopes of staying in the competition alive. Till next week! Yeah! Look, listen, shout out Grant Hanley, man. He was playing in the Prem at one point, but him trying to play out the back, he's struggling, all right? The body movements, they're not quite moving. Kieran Tierney was left heartbroken during this one, having to be stretchered off with an injury again. Bless him, man. Honestly, I hope he's back to full fitness soon, but injuries have chased him around his career his entire life. I almost feel concerned for him when he steps off the hospital bed for the first time, for fuck's sake. Now, comedian Richard Gadd and the creator of Baby Reindeer was seen in the crowd. The real-life martyr could also be seen being restrained at stadium entry. Meanwhile, Xherdan Shaqiri scoring a banger at an international tournament.
This was the banker. This was the one that couldn't fail. This was one that's never failed.
Speaking of bangers, and they were visible aplenty during Turkey's game versus Georgia. This one was an absolute classic. One of the best games of the tournament so far. Me, as a jobless man, I was getting ready for wall-to-wall ball here. It made no sense, fam. It was 2-0 and then 1-1 4 minutes later. But before this game had even started and the carnage was already beginning, because Borussia Dortmund's Signal Iduna Park was leaking all over the gaff. Waterfalls were spraying down onto fans all around the ground. Stewards were getting creative with their methods in terms of getting the water away. Turkish supporters were left in concern.
How are you? I am under the water. Please help me. Here too much raining.
Those Turkish fans didn't stay concerned for too long, though, instead concerning themselves with getting into a scrap with Georgia's supporters. Turkish fans are just absolutely mental, aren't they? I love it. They were getting very aggressive when Georgian supporters stared at them for over 3.5 seconds from the other end of the ground. This one was an unreal game for the neutral, and it featured our first 2 goals of the week. First of all, a sensational volley from Mert Mulder as the ball drops out of the sky just to be pummeled into the top corner, and then Turkey's second goal, scored by wonderkid Real Madrid midfielder Arda Güler, picking up the ball and curling it delightfully into the top corner.
Topu kazandırdı Kaan Arda kaleye baktı. Arda! Süper gol! Süper gol!
Arda Güler is the guy. I know he's not got as much of an opportunity at Real as he probably would have liked this season, but I expect him to be good this tournament and to get his chance next year. Also, shout out to Vuj, by the way, for suggesting there should be a Balkans trophy. I'll be real, it might genuinely lead to some kind of inter-European war, but it would definitely be footballing heritage. Now, elsewhere in Eastern Europe, and you know what time it is, it's the moment you've all been waiting for, because over in Romania, they started their Euros campaign battering Ukraine 3-0. They were absolutely scintillating in this game. I'm so proud of our adopted nation. Before the game, I think their left back decided to dye his hair blue. Just finished the shift as a pro club's character, clearly. But your third goal of the week comes from Romanian midfielder Nicolae Stancu. The opener here started with Andrei Lunin's mistake and then was curled beautifully right into the top corner. The snickometer went crazy with this one. An old blue hair's reaction was pretty justified. The second goal also was low-key an Andrei Lunin howler. It's a shame for the Ukrainian shot stopper after such a good season for Real, but his highlights in this one were not as good as you would have expected. He apologized to Ukraine supporters at full time. He'll need to apologize to Alexander Zinchenko, who undoubtedly was left in tears again. Meanwhile, for Romania, and they had the megaphones out thanking their fans. What a wholesome day at the office. Cristiano Ronaldo's Euros, meanwhile, started a little bit earlier than everybody else's. He's physically jumped the start for kickoff here. Now, Portugal grabbed a dramatic late winner here to save themselves from disappointment v Czechia. Francisco Conceição scored his debut goal winner in the 90th minute. Now, Ronaldo made his debut in one of Sergio Conceição's last games. And now Sergio's son has scored towards the end of Ronaldo's career, a full circle moment. He said that he still wants to be playing for Portugal and going to the World Cup of 2026. So he will be left devastated when he's told it's in the US. Brother, I don't think you have the facility. Now, Portugal conducted an open training session before this game, and it led to a pitch invasion where goalkeeper Jose Sá had to save Cristiano Ronaldo from oncoming traffic. Meanwhile, for the Netherlands, and their game resulted in late drama too. They beat Poland thanks to Wout Weghorst at the death. Robert Lewandowski was fuming, watching injured from the bench.
Weghorst? I've never heard. That's not even a real name.
Elsewhere on the benches, though, and Ronald Koeman was being grim.
Brother,
What's that, brother?
What on earth is going on here? Out in the crowd, and one supporter was left with concussion. Meanwhile, Ian Martin got a late call up to the tournament due to injuries, and it caught the family out. His dad had to do a 6-hour drive just to deliver his boots to the tournament. For Denmark, and there was a beautiful story for Christian Eriksen, who went from his scary collapse back at Euro 2020 to a goal here at the 2024 version of the competition. He opened the scoring in their 1-1 draw, and honestly, it was an emotional moment for him, and I'm sure Danes across their country. This is a literal resurrection. Their doctor gets an FPL assist here, though things weren't quite as serious for Denmark supporters. This fan will have been fuming, realizing they weren't behind at any point during the game. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the crowd, and we've got a unique set of fans who aren't supporting a team, clearly. They're just here to support the refs. It's nice to see Real Madrid's squad getting some time off, though, it's gotta be said. Meanwhile, on American TV coverage, and Landon Donovan was rocking a interesting look. An ironic name, because a plane could land on that head. An American hero, texts were leaked about the situation. Apparently, he'd had a hair transplant recently. He was told it wouldn't show up on TV. Well, I hope it goes well, geezer. Just please put a hat on, just for now. Over in Brazil, and before Copa America got underway, Ronaldinho had some very harsh words for Brazil. He said basically the magic is gone and that he won't be supporting the nation because the team just simply isn't good enough. Here we have Ronaldinho listing teams he'd rather watch this summer.
Barrow, Carlisle, Newcastle, Sunderland, Middlesbrough, Harrogate, Hull, Grimsby, Lincoln, Doncaster, Rotherham, Barnsley, Sheffield United, Sheffield Wednesday.
Well, that's if he can get into the country to watch any of them. You wouldn't fake a passport. Rafinha returned serve in a press conference saying that apparently Ronaldinho had asked Neymar for a free ticket just like a week before. And that would be a great comeback. Surely Ronaldinho does not need a ticket to go and watch Brazil. Now that it's time for the rest of your goals of the week from outside of the Euros. And first of all, we head over to Egypt. And at Al Mokaloun, I think I'm pronouncing that right, not entirely sure, but Nias has provided some ridiculous technique on this volley, smacking it in from distance. And finally, we've got some more acrobatics here for you, coming from Brazil. Coming from the 4th tier as well, actually, a really impressive bicycle kick directly from a corner. Perfectly and sweetly here. Hello all, and welcome to The Beautiful Game, the segment where we take a look at the poetic and brilliant side of the game that we love. We are back by popular demand for yet more glorious beauty. And that concludes The Beautiful Game. Now, back in England, and Brighton have announced their new boss. It is a 31-year-old who used to manage St. Pauli. Just when you thought this football club could not get any more hipster. I know that every board member at the club pronounces Bruno Fernandes as Bruno Fernandes. He also becomes the youngest manager in the history of the Premier League. So it'll be really interesting to see how he performs and how Brighton perform next season, post Roberto De Zerbi. Another manager who, of course, has left the Premier League at the end of the season is Jurgen Klopp, who is going to take some downtime instead of moving over elsewhere, and he has decided that he's going to become a Swiftie. He had the hat on, he went to go see her at Anfield, though I'll be honest, he'll have been contemplating leaving after spending over 20 minutes with other Swifties.
I will leave.
But elsewhere, and there has been some tragic news to come out of the world of football in England this week. First of all, starting with the unfortunate passing of Arsenal, Everton, and general Premier League legend Kevin Campbell, a striker that was so influential, scored so many goals during the 90s and into the early 2000s, was a real mentor as well for Wayne Rooney when he was at Everton, and also the news of the extremely untimely passing of Millwall goalkeeper Matija Sarkic. Sending love to both their families, they'll both be dearly missed within the footballing community. Now, over in Germany, and there is some wholesome news from Darmstadt, who are offering free season tickets for low-income fans. I love the community vibe that there is within German football. You know, the 51% rule for, sort of fan ownership really does create and provide these situations, and really does give football back to the community and back to the class that actually started it in the first place. Meanwhile, there's similarly wholesome stuff going on in Spain, as FC Cadiz purchased the home of an elderly 88-year-old fan to prevent her from getting evicted in the local area. There was a campaign about it and the club stepped in. That is serious community vibes as well. Man, European football's wholesome this week. Letting the side down, though, is Italian football, as Douglas Luiz and Alicia Lehmann, a couple who currently both play for Aston Villa, are both being linked to a couple's move to Juventus. This is not Love Island, alright? That's happening at the moment as well, to be fair. Things will have got a little bit tense, though, during negotiation when they started having an argument inside the manager's office. But personally, I just think I should be getting an assist bonus in this contract. That's all I'm saying. What, are you going to use that money to teach yourself how to do the washing up, Douglas? Oh, look at this. It's moan, moan, moan. Even when we're trying to get a transfer. How about you transfer some clothes into the washing machine for once, instead of leaving them on the floor? Whilst we're at it, you can't even cook properly. Your chicken gave me food poisoning. Well, how about maybe you do the cooking yourself every now and again instead of relying for me to do it? Guys, please, we could just get back to the task at hand. I didn't know if one of you wanted like an assist. Meanwhile, elsewhere in Serie A, and Lazio fans have had enough of their club president. They held a vigil this week, praying to the Lord and the heavens above that he would leave the club. I mean, when divine intervention is needed to get your president out, it really is a bad day at the office. So over on social media, and jokes are being made about the likes of Guillermo Ochoa and Xherdan Shaqiri, who seem to just spawn at international tournaments at the moment. The Mexican goalkeeper especially absolutely slaps it in a World Cup and then goes missing for another 4 years. At least he's self-aware to the situation over on Twitter. And speaking of Mexico, it's bad times for CONCACAF right now. Mexico's under-23s were beaten by Japan's under-19s. This is year 7s v year 11s, and the year 7s won. Speaking of Japan, and over in the J-League, their mascots never disappoint. Why is there a horse involved? What is actually going on here? Over in America and in the USL Championship, there was a serious defensive mix-up for a goal kick, as a goalkeeper passes it out to his defender, who then picks up the ball and gives away a penalty because he didn't realize the ball was in play. If that seems a little bit suspect, then you're gonna love this Brazilian own goal, which genuinely might be an example of match fixing. Lucas Paqueta's influence knows no bounds. In China now, and the own goals keep coming. Shanghai Shenhua have even managed to do a tiki-taka own goal. Probably one of the first that I've ever seen, really getting everybody involved. The Howlers keep on coming, this time over in Kenya, where a striker's been hit from distance. It might be moving in the air, but that is no excuse for this goalkeeper to chuck it into his own net. Meanwhile, in Estonia, and there's confusion there too. This time though from the fourth official, who's accidentally got the subboard upside down. In Brazil now, and we've got the anti-goal of the week. A real, true testament to the state of Brazilian football generally right now. I'm not gonna lie to you. There's no Jogo Benito on offer here, I'll tell you that for facts. Meanwhile, back in England, and there's the news that Macclesfield Town have appointed Robbie Savage as their new manager. The chairman, who's genuinely just done the interview process with himself. Now that it's time for Still 0-0, and you guys know the score by now, this is a segment of the show where I bring to you the best of Sunday League and amateur football. And this time we are heading over to the wonderful continent of Africa for some Sunday League VAR. Now obviously VAR, goal line technology and the likes require quite a lot of funding. Funding that Sunday League football of course absolutely does not have. But these guys have really gone above and beyond to wheel out the year 10 geography TV and get real-time reviews for the officials. On to the weird stuff though now. First of all, we head over to the Oceania Cup, where Vanuatu are playing up against the Solomon Islands. Now, Vanuatu, the Solomon Islands, both small nations in Oceania, you'll notice that neither of those nations are the nation of Iceland. So help me to understand why all the mascots were wearing Iceland shirts. How do these two things even overlap? Why did they happen, and why was this the choice? I guess we'll never know. But finally, over in Tanzania, and they pulled off an unlikely victory against Zambia in World Cup qualifiers. It was so unlikely, in fact, that the nation's sporting director decided to take matters into his own hands when rewarding the players involved. He gave them all 4,000 Tanzanian dollars in cash as not only a celebration of their victory, but an inspiration for them to do it again. Isn't it mad that you could do that for Scotland's Euros campaign and you wouldn't spend a penny? That though is going to wrap up football this week, and I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, then feel free to slap a like on the video, and of course subscribe if you are new to the channel. You can also follow me on social media. It is at @officialfng on Twitter and on Insta. It's been a pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a wonderful day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.